Everyone, and welcome to the caucus meeting of Monday, May 9th. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Before we do the pledge, as I call your name, would you please indicate that you are present? Councilmember Cunningham.
Present and in person.
Councilmember Dawson.
Here.
Councilmember Flewelling.
Here.
Councilmember Glover.
Here.
Councilmember Hervey. Councilwoman Howard.
Here.
Councilmember Lawson.
Mark Lawson here.
Councilmember McEllen.
Here.
Councilmember Rodman.
Here.
Councilmember Somerville.
Here.
The chair is present. 10 members of County Council are accounted for at this meeting to conduct the business. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Mr. McKellen, do you wish to lead us?
Yes, certainly. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public notice of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. Will a member of council please make a motion to approve this evening's agenda for caucus?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. I'll second.
Mr. Rodman makes the motion, Mr. Cunningham makes the second. Duly motioned in second. Is there any discussion about tonight's agenda? Seeing none, the caucus agenda will be approved without objection, and there are no objections. Next item is our agenda review. If you will take a look at the council meeting of this evening, you will see that it is rather short, which means that we may be able to get out in a timely fashion. Not trying to jinx anyone. Let the record state that Mr. Hervishon is now present, so all 11 members are there. Are there any questions regarding any portion of the consent agenda?
Oh, no.
Mr. Glover?
You said a consent?
Well, any part of the agenda.
Item number 17.
Item number 17, yes.
The widow, unless there's objection to passing this, I'd like for it to be moved up if possible, to probably right after number 8. And the widow will be here, and I would hate for her to stay here till the end of the meeting,
Okay.
if that's possible.
Well, we can do that, but it is an action item, so we'll have to move it after number 10.
Number 10.
Yes,
Okay,
okay?
I appreciate that, Mr.
No
Chairman.
problem. Okay, any other questions regarding this? Okay, seeing none, that takes care of the agenda. Council, did I hear someone say something?
Mr. McKellen.
Mr.
Yeah,
McKellen?
I'm having a little trouble with my mute button. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, there's a proclamation that I'll be reading tonight as part of the agenda. And ancillary to that, I would like to just add some information that tomorrow is directly related to the proclamation of the emergency medical services. Tomorrow is Tuesday, May 10th, has been designated National Fentanyl Awareness Day. And we have a situation here in the state where we are operating at 22, an average of 22 people per 100,000 who are dealing with this issue. And we have a report of the top 10 counties. Fortunately for us, Beaufort County is not in the top 10, but some of our neighbors are at 68 out of 100,000. And it's obvious to me that this fentanyl problem is a big one statewide. And I want to just add that that is another reason for us to be proclaiming Emergency Medical Services Week May 15th to May 21st, because our emergency medical service technicians are the first of the first responders who deal with this matter as it relates to drug overdoses. So I'd like to just tie those two things together, make everyone aware of National Fentanyl Awareness Day, and congratulate the emergency medical technicians for their ability to keep us out of the top 10.
Hey, thank you very much. Any other questions?
We're on discussion now?
Yes, we are.
Just a couple things. Public facilities, we will be taking up the recommendations from the Transportation Committee, and I think we're targeting that for about 4 o'clock, and I think that'll be of interest to a lot of the community. So we'll see where that goes. Secondly, you know, about 2 months ago, we had some discussions about physical autonomy for the school board. And they, on more than one occasion and fairly recently, have lobbied the delegation for full autonomy, and the delegation keeps telling them that that's a no-go. So as it stands right now, we would do it this year just the way we've always done it. And I would guess there may be some discussion later on with the school board about whether they want to do something in a limited fashion, but that would not be the case. And lastly, one of just a personal piece. I was highly criticized by one of our former members relative to the transportation stuff, so I copied you on the response on that. I don't think I was doing anything wrong, but if I am, I'm always open to criticism. So that was all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any,
I'd say as I copied everybody on that.
okay, Mr. Dawson.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like for us to take a moment, and I'm not sure when is the appropriate time, whether it's now or at a future meeting. But we as a council and our administrator, we need to sit down and talk about the town of Yamasee and their annexation blitz that they're currently doing, trying to move into Beaufort County, taking up as much property as they can. We have a situation where the last annexation piece that they did was the Cotton Hall plantation and the tomato plantation. And at one of our Northern Regional Plan meeting, might have been a month before last, Matt Gons, the town, is he the manager? I think he's the town manager. Yeah, Matt Gons made the statement that the town's intention is to annex as far as Highway 17 and Gordon's Corner. I don't know if we want to open that discussion here now, or you want to schedule another meeting and us do it at another time, but I got some comments I want to make and see if by chance I can get some support from council as to my thoughts on it.
Okay. I would think that would be appropriate for us to discuss at the next executive committee meeting. Are you amenable to that, Mr. Somerville? You're on mute still. You're still on mute, Paul.
I think I understood Mr. Dawson correctly. He wants to talk about growth boundaries and annexation. And Yamasee is one of, you got Yamasee growing and expanding, you got Hardyville growing and expanding, you got Bluffton growing and expanding, you got Beaufort and Fort Royal growing and expanding. I mean, if you're going to have the discussion, there's a whole lot to talk about. I'm not sure what we can do about it, but I'd have to think about it. That's a big topic. That's a big topic. So I'll give that some thought.
Okay.
I know.
Ms. Howard.
Yes, today we had a very short but very productive meeting with Safe Harbor and the town of Port Royal and Beaufort County regarding the sands. And things are going forward in a very positive manner. And the good news is it will stay open, the boat landing, no matter what. So,
Excellent.
I hope, unless the administrator has anything to add to that.
No, I just want to make it clear to council so that you all know we do not, from a county administration level, have any plans or have given any instructions or anything to shut down any boat landings. We are going to keep those open. Of course, we have to put dates and letters so that we can initiate discussions, and we're confident that we're going to work with Port Royal and the Safe Harbor folks to resolve that issue. So the article in the paper was a little bit sensational and did not convey the situation accurately. So,
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Mr. Rabbit?
When Ladhow was here a couple weeks ago and spoke to us, he made the point that if we are maintaining something over a long period of time, we can claim that.
we can.
Is our plan to do that for this particular one?
Our plan, and so with regard to it, and this is more of a legal question, but I'm going to take a shot at it. In order to establish the right to a prescriptive easement, you have to do that in court.
Okay.
We're trying to avoid court, and we're trying to work with all of the individuals who hold these ownership things to get either maintenance agreements or get the property in the county name so that we don't have to do that.
Okay.
But I wanted you all to be clear that it is not my direction to staff or my intention, and I do not agree with the talk that we're going to shut down boat landings and we're going to stop doing maintenance on boat landings, or that we're going to give boat landings away. We're not planning to do that.
I agree with that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Mr. Glover.
Yeah, Mr. Greenway, let me make sure I understand clearly. There are some legal ownership questions about boat landings. And as far as maintenance of those boat landings, and there's several, I think there were 5 that had questions about legality. What's gonna happen to those boat landings? I know the Sands is a very popular one, but there are some other boat landings out in the area that need some work on as well.
Yes.
But they are not owned by the quote unquote, the county legally.
And I've recently instructed staff that we are going to repair any boat landings that have damage, that we're going to maintain boat landings that we have historically maintained. We're going to continue to do those things and keep those landings open and operable and do what we need to do to make them usable in the meantime. And if there's a funding shortfall on it, they need to let me know so that I can find the money to give to them so we can put those back right. That direction to stop doing repair work to boat landings did not come from administration. That came from something outside of administration. Don't want to make a big issue out of that, but I have now corrected that direction.
Let me just also add to that is that when we did Whitehall boat landing, it almost became the standard. Just
Yeah.
throw that out there to you.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
And we're working on a plan with Mr. Williams to make sure all of our boat landings are up to that standard over the next few years.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Good lively discussion.
Yeah, may I, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Somerville.
now that I'm off mute? We're going to make, well, we already have made some pretty serious decisions on impact fees, and we're going to make another pretty serious one in the first meeting in June. So I think that the more we talk about it, especially in public, the better. I just want to make a couple of comments, if I may. With respect to the school impact fee, I understand the reasons why the vast majority of council members voted to terminate it. And but I hope under the statute we had to create the impact fee. The school district doesn't have the authority to do it, so we did it on their behalf, and it became essentially their impact fee. It just became a question of how it gets collected, and of course that's when we one of the ways we bogged down. I'm hoping at some point, sooner rather than later, we can resurrect that. But when we do, if we do, obviously I don't want it to become a burden for the administrator. I attended some of the meetings in Bluffton and some of the other places, and I know the administrator carried a lion's share of the load, and I applaud him for that. He worked very hard, and but I don't think it should be his responsibility if it comes up again. So hopefully, I think the school district has made it clear that they would like to pursue it. And it makes sense because if we don't have a school impact fee, that means that it has to go on their referendum and has to be borrowed instead of, and the cost gets socialized, and $1 becomes $2 over the life of the amortization of the bonds, and those that create the impacts are getting off pretty cheap because they don't have to pay for that initial surge of impact. So there are a lot of reasons why I think it's a great idea to have a school impact fee. And at one time, the majority of council agreed with that. A lot of things have happened since then, which I understand. I'm just hoping that that council will keep an open mind to the possibility of resurrecting that at some point, sooner rather than later. With respect to the other impact fees, the non-school impact fees, there's so much going on there. I mean, there's some things that are very troubling to me about the way they're currently being administered. I think there's some things, specifically the quote unquote administrative fee. I think that there's a real question of the legality of that. There's a real question of the legality of the way Hilton Head retains their Parks and Recreation. I'm not sure what else they retain, but I'm not sure. I think that raises serious questions about the legality of that. So whatever happens, there's a lot of cleaning up that's going to have to be done if we continue them. I hope we do, because again, when you don't, you're socializing a cost that, in my view, should at least be partially paid by the folks that create the impact. Anyway, I'm always happy to hear any comments, pro or con, but I just hate to see us say nothing about it and then come to the first meeting in June and raise our hands to kill it or not kill it. So I think that's why I wanted to make the comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rodman?
Yeah, just one thing that came up that somebody pointed out to me, which I thought was rather interesting when we were talking about the school board or the school impact fee, which I had not thought about and we didn't include in our discussion. But actually, if you have an impact fee for the schools, I think it makes it more difficult to pass a referendum because the voting public say, well, we approved an impact fee. Why do you need a referendum? And so actually it may be counterproductive to have one of those. And it was pointed out, you raise a small amount of money compared to what you really need for the schools. But I thought that was an interesting observation that somebody passed along to me.
Yeah,
Mr. Cunningham?
I just had more of a question. About a month ago, we had a couple developers come in wanting to rezone property outside of Mainland Bluff. I know it gained a lot of attention. It ended up in the papers. My email blew up, and we have not heard a peep about it since. So I was just curious to see, is that still trying to be pushed behind the scenes? Is that still going to be brought back to council? Or where are we sitting with that?
We had a meeting with Mainland Bluff on Friday with regards to their annual review on their development agreement. And the developer was in there, and they're still, the folks that are requesting that rezoning are still working through items to see which direction they want to go. There are some things in the development agreement that they're going to have addressed that may impact their ability to come back, but they're still working through all of that.
Thank you.
And if I could go back to the MSC annexation, there is several initiatives that our planning department, the planning and zoning department is working on with regards to growth boundaries with the town of Hardyville and the town of Yemassee. So it might be more appropriate if you would allow me to instruct our planning director, Mr. Merchant, to add that item to the Natural Resources Committee agenda to give you all an overview of that so that you all will have an opportunity at the appropriate committee to discuss that item at the next Natural Resources Committee meeting. It's the same day as the executive committee, so it doesn't really matter, but I think it would be more appropriate to be in front of Natural Resources.
Sounds good.
Mrs. Howard, would you make that a part of your next meeting then?
Sir.
Excellent. Okay.
That'll be great.
Mr. Chairman, just a brief question about the 278 committee, 278 Project Fair Game at this meeting.
Sure.
I have a question with this throughput study that we have and the extension that has been talked about. We asked for a design exception for the traffic signal at Windmill Harbor. Is that going to stand independent of all of the other activities that are taking place, the design exception request for the traffic light.
Mr. Greenway will answer that.
So let me make sure I understand the question. Are you asking me if the delay on the study of 278 is going to hold up and delay the installation of the traffic signal at Windmill Harbor?
Well, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, no. We're drafting a letter right now to the Secretary of Transportation, Christy Hall, to request that design exception, and stating that because of the additional delay to the 278 project, we need to go ahead and be approved to install the signal at Windmill Harbor.
Well, that certainly answered it. Thank you very much, Mr. Administrator. I appreciate your forthright answer.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Flewelling.
Thank you. Since you're up there, Mr. Greenway, I'm wondering if you could discuss the personal data breach that Board of Registration Elections had for poll worker information.
Is this the one that occurred several weeks ago?
Well, we just got the email about it. We just got the letter about it at home. No, it's probably the one that happened a couple of weeks ago. I haven't heard anything about it. And I'm wondering if the issue has been resolved, if everything that can be done to safeguard data has taken place.
Yeah, I will briefly address this here, and I may need to clarify some things in my administrator's report at 6 because I may misstate the situation. But that data breach occurred with a vendor that we employ here in Beaufort County for voters registration. It was not anything local that happened with our department. It was a data breach through a vendor that happened outside of that. But it's my understanding everything has been resolved. And if I need to clarify that or add more information to that, I will do so at 6 with my administrator's report.
Okay, well, I don't know that you'll need to clarify anything, except I would like you to make sure and verify that everything has been resolved.
Yeah, I will.
There is no further security issue for our data, for our volunteers' data, actually our employees' data. It was regarding poll workers and their pay. Their personal data was found on the internet. And make sure that not only no further breaches are necessary, but everybody that may have been involved has also been identified and notified.
Yeah, we'll have that. I'll have those details for you at 6.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chairman, another question on voter registration.
Go ahead.
I have liaison for that and community services, and I thought we had an understanding that the Riverbend Lodge was going to be made available for advanced voting and for voting in the primary and the general election. Has anything happened to dispose of that idea so that Riverbend Lodge will not be used?
That I'm not aware of. I know that I did speak, because that is my district right now. I know that I was in conversation with the Board of Elections, and they were very sincere about using that as a polling place for the primary and general election, especially since Sun City is now split into 2 districts. And there's, some 2,100 homes that would be affected by this change. So that I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have an answer for you all on that at 6 o'clock as part of my administrator's report as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then I just have one more for Board of Voter Registration. Are we moving forward with our plan, Mr. Administrator, with regard to the My Pillow warehouse, the storage of the voting machines?
The list has been forwarded to the appropriate personnel, and I'm waiting on cost and timeframes to do that work. So yes, sir.
Excellent, because I think that's a great place to store that material. And thank you very much for arranging and suggesting that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, any others? Mr. Harvishon, you're quiet. You don't have any questions?
Nothing for me at the moment, thank you.
Wow. All right, then seeing no further action to be taken, we will adjourn the caucus meeting and resume county council meeting at 6 p.m.